Hate this essay. This is a bad essay. If you need a good example of a bad essay, go back and read that essay again. I'm really serving librarian looks today, aren't I? Wait, hold on, I know. Hello everybody, and welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Katie, and I'm a new junior transfer at UC Berkeley studying anthropology with a focus in archaeology. I make informative videos and fun vlogs on the transfer process, community college, and what it's like to be a transfer student, and also on occasion some vintage related videos. If that all sounds good to you, don't forget to hit the subscribe button to stay tuned for more content, and let's get into today's video. Now, if you have been around for a while, you may remember my rejection video, which I'll put in the cards up here. And if you've watched that rejection video, you would know that I previously applied to the UCs back in 2018 and was obviously rejected. I will go into full detail about why I think I was rejected from all of the UCs I applied to in another video, but part of what I think really contributed to my rejection was my awful essays. I wrote them maybe a week before the deadline for the applications, and they were really bad. So the point of today's video is I want to compare and contrast my rejected essays with my accepted essays so you can get kind of an idea of what the UCs are and are not looking for. So I'm going to break this video up into 3 sections and I'll put timestamps down below. The first section is just going to be some background on the UC essays, or what they call the personal insight questions. The second section is going to be my actual essays, and then the third section is going to be a reflection overall. And because it would take me way too freaking long to read my responses to each question twice, I'm just going to put the text on the screen of first my rejected essay, then my accepted essay. You guys can pause it and read them, and then after you've read them, continue playing, and I will talk about what was bad in that particular essay. So because I am going over all the details of all of my essays, this is going to be a long video, so grab a cup of tea, get cozy, and let's go. So first, some background on the PIQs. What are they? The personal insight questions, or the PIQs, is a set of 8 prompts on the UC application, 4 of which you have to answer. For transfer students, there is 1 required question, and then you get to pick the 3 others, and I think it's the same for freshman students as well, but the required question is a little bit different. I should also mention that the personal insight questions have a maximum word count of 350 words, so it's really important to write them well. These essays are absolutely 100% necessary because, first of all, you can't finish the application if you don't write them, but also the essays contextualize you as a person. They take quantitative data and put it to qualitative information about you so that you're not just numbers and GPA and test scores on a screen. This is the chance for you to tell a little bit about yourself, who you are, where you've come from, and why you want to go to college. So the PIQs are incredibly important, and especially when it comes to the UCs, in my personal opinion, I think that answering the personal insight questions is more important than your GPA. Sure, it doesn't hurt to have a good GPA, but if you don't answer the personal insight questions well, then I would say that the chances of you getting in are drastically lowered. So now that that's out of the way, let's actually get to the prompts that I answered and my essay so you guys can take a look. So the first prompt that I answered was the required prompt, and it says, please describe how you have prepared for your intended major, including your readiness to succeed in your upper division courses once you enroll at the university. So here is my rejected essay. Please pause it and take a second to read it. Okay, first essay analysis. This is the perfect example of what people would call a resume essay. This is just a list of all of the things that I've done, and it tells absolutely nothing about who I am as a person. It just really doesn't show the UCs who I am, why I wanted to do those things, how I did them, or why I find them important in my life. In addition, there's absolutely 0 storytelling. There's maybe a little tiny bit in the last section where I talk about going to Susanville and doing my archaeology experience, but other than that, it's just a list of the things that I've accomplished, and I think that's kind of the catch with this prompt. When it says tell us how you've prepared, the first thing that you think of is, well, what are the things that I've done and the classes I've taken that would make me successful in my field of study, but what they really want to know is, why do you want to pursue college and education, and why do you want to go into this field specifically? Especially as incoming transfer students, we come in already declaring our major. We're not freshmen who have no idea what we're doing. We have an idea of what we want to do, and I think that the first prompt, the required prompt, is definitely the place to tell them, to show them why you want to do that. And here is my accepted essay. In my opinion, my accepted essay has compelling storytelling from the get-go. It's attention-grabbing. It says, hey, look it. Susanville, California, the high desert, it's dusty, it's hot, it's dry. Why would anybody want to be there? Let me show you why. Again, it shows rather than tells what I'm passionate about, which is anthropology and archaeology, and it also shows them why I'm passionate about it. And lastly, in my accepted essay, it also told the school what I learned from that experience, how I learned that, and how I want to apply it in my future. Okay, moving right on into the second prompt, the one that I chose to answer was, every person has a creative side. It can be expressed in many ways. Problem solving, original and innovative thinking, and artistically, to name a few. Describe how you express your creative side. And here is my rejected essay. Pause it to take a look. And here's what's wrong with my rejected essay. So first of all, like I said earlier in the video, the personal insight question has a word maximum, and that is 350 words. If you noticed, this essay is short. It's only 230 words. I have 120 words out there that I am not using to show the UCs who I am as a person, and I think that's a big mistake. All of my accepted essays were as close to the word maximum as I could get them, and I even had to cut back on a few of them. So it's really important to utilize your space well and to just jam in as much as you can tell them about yourself. But again, in this particular essay, it was just a list of the things that I've done. It's more of a resume. It, in my opinion, doesn't really show any creative side for me, except for the fact that I've done a lot of creative things like cosplay and playing my flute and sewing and art. But there's no storytelling. There's no personality to it. There's no carrying this theme through the essay to show who Katie is. It doesn't really show any depth. The last rejected essay and this rejected essay both kind of sound generic. They kind of sound like they're templates that somebody pulled off of a website and then just plugged in their own information. And now here's my accepted essay. Done reading? Awesome. So in my accepted essay, I chose to narrow in my focus and just talk about one thing. And that one thing was wearing vintage. I chose to focus on just one thing to show how I'm passionate about something, why I'm passionate about that thing, and how that thing affects my life. Are you starting to see a trend here? So again, in my accepted essay, I utilized my storytelling abilities with that attention-grabbing first line. On most days, I look like a 1950s housewife. I'm going to tell you a little bit of a secret here. When I was writing this one, UC Berkeley has a history for social change and reform and justice, and my essay was all about how vintage fashion can be the antithesis to fast fashion, which is an incredibly polluting industry, and I was kind of aiming that particular essay at UC Berkeley because they have a history of wanting social change. And one of the things about the UCs is that you can't write to say, I want to go to UC Berkeley, because that essay that you're writing goes to all of the UCs that you apply to, so it does have to be a little bit generic in the sense of school, but I found that this was a way to tailor what I was saying to be applicable to the schools that I really wanted to get into. Going back to the word count, I actually utilized as much word count as I could in this one, and I remember this is one of the ones that I actually had to cut out words from. You only have 350 words for 4 questions to tell the UCs who you are. You gotta use as much of those words as you can. And then lastly, I just really think that this essay, because it focused in on one thing, that it shows them how I'm unique, who I am as a person, my ideals, and it shows them, it tells them a story about finding the vintage community and learning the role that it has to play in environmentalism, and it shows that aspect of me rather than just telling them the things that I do to be creative. Moving on to the third essay, the prompt for this one is, what would you say is your greatest talent or skill? How have you developed and demonstrated that over time? So here is my rejected essay. Pause that. And let me tell you something, I hate this essay. This is a bad essay. If you need a good example of a bad essay, go back and read that essay again. This is a very generic essay again. It sounds like anybody could have taken this off of a website and just plugged in their name and the skill that they think that they have. It's not really backed up with any good evidence of why I developed that skill or how I utilize that skill, and there's really no storytelling. This, I think, is a good example of the I worked hard essay. Oh, I was doing really poorly and I was getting bad grades, but I turned it around. That's not an interesting essay. It's a really common essay that people write. It told instead of showed, and again, there was no storytelling, no personality. It didn't really tell anything about my life. So now, take a look at my accepted essay. And let me me tell you why I really like this essay. This essay answered their question in a way that contextualized my life and my background and the things that have affected me throughout life. And this essay also shows them how this skill will helpful. And this essay also I need a drink of water. And this essay also shows the UC how that skill helps me be successful in life and school, and how it will help me be successful at their school. And lastly, it's really backed up with evidence. It shows them where I needed to use that, examples of how I used it and why I used it and how it helped me succeed. And then lastly, number 4, I'm not going to go over this one because my response was a little bit too personal for me to share on the internet, but the prompt is: describe the most significant challenge you have faced and the steps you have taken to overcome this challenge. How has this challenge affected your academic achievement? Although I'm not going to show you my essays, the thing that I really want to share in regards to this prompt is the sob story. Technically mine is a sob story, but colleges don't want to read about boo-hoo, your life is so sad. That sounds really harsh. But they don't want to hear a sad story that doesn't have a resolution or a happy ending or how you learned or grew from that experience. A sob story is not going to really do much to help you get into college, I'm sorry to say, but if it's important to who you are as a person, if it's important to understanding your life story, if you learned from it, if it contextualizes why you got bad grades or why your family doesn't make a lot of money and why you'd be eligible for financial aid, then it's important to tell. But the UCs are all about seeing growth, so if you had a sob story in your teenage years and you've recovered from that and you've learned and you've grown from it, that's what they want to know. I'll tell you a little bit about mine. My sob story is about my dad passing away and the domino effect that had on my life, but I didn't just end it there. I told them how I recovered from that and how I was able to succeed in spite of those things, but also that thing had a huge impact on my life. Okay, lastly, I have some general thoughts about the essays as a whole and the things that I think really worked in them. The first thing that I noticed was that my original essays had a lot of grammar and spelling issues. So while this is not exactly a make it or break it kind of issue with the UCs, it's always good to have grammatically correct essays. Have somebody read over your essay, read them out loud to yourself, or pop them into Grammarly or something like that. Again, all of my rejected essays had no storytelling and no personality, while all of my accepted essays were written as stories, and they showed a lot of who I am as a person. Additionally, I think all of my accepted essays, each one of them shows a different part of me, but they're all connected with one underlying theme, and when you put them all together, they create a picture of who Katie is. So again, this is your chance to tell the UCs who you are as a person, give them a face and a story and a life to the GPA and SAT scores. Well, I have been filming for 25 minutes. My studio lights are making me really sweaty. I'm going to go now. I really hope that you found that useful. I know that this is the kind of information that I would have found helpful when I was in the transfer process. If you need any more help, I highly suggest checking out Super Tutor TV. I watched a ton of her videos when I was writing my essay. I'll put a link to her channel in the description below. And also, I used the Redhead Academics, or Kaylin Apple's, consultation services. She edited my essays and had a one-on-one consultation with me, so I'll put a link to her website in the description below. And lastly, there is another link in the description below for my own personal free college admissions consultation. It will take you to a Google form that you fill out with your name and your email, and whether you're looking for general UC application advice or to go over your personal insight questions. So if you're interested in that, don't forget to check that out. All of my social media links are also in the description. Basically anything that I talked about in this video is in the description below. Don't forget to subscribe and share this video with somebody who might find it useful, and I will see you in the next video. Bye! Why did I put on a wool skirt and a sweater vest when it's like 108 degrees outside? Because I lack common sense.